Yo, what's up, guys? You got pokeaim here, and the leaks are real. I'm talking, they're everywhere. Okay, now I don't want to leak any story to you at all, but I do want to talk about certain move tutors, maybe certain moves that Pokemon get now. And this is the biggest one that I have been hoping for. I have been asking for a Defog move tutor ever since 6th Gen happened, ever since pretty much we left Pokemon Platinum. I've been asking for a Defog move tutor because that move should be more widely distributed. I want to be able to not have to go back and get a Lottie from Gen 4 in order to use Defog and things like that. So we finally have a Defog move tutor confirmed in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and I am beyond hyped for this. And I'm actually put together on Showdown some Pokemon that get it. And down below in the description, I'll actually have the rest of the Pokemon that get it, because of course there's an abundance of flying types that do get Defog now. But there's also a bunch of Pokemon you would not expect to get Defog that actually do. Now this is actually pretty cool. I'll give my thoughts on it really quickly, just how I feel Defog in general will affect the meta. But I think this is really good because 7th Gen OU is currently plagued by Toxic Spikes. You see Toxic Spikes on every single team. It's able to just be splashed on teams, mainly because you need it for T-Spikes. T-Spikes are just ridiculous right now, being able to wear down everything, obviously. So the more Defog we have, the easier it is to deal with hazards like that. And we have a bunch of great Defoggers as well. Pokemon that actually can, like, how do I say, they can avoid hazards like Toxic Spikes and Spikes. Obviously, you know, flying types that do that. But we have a bunch of Pokemon you would not expect to have Defog. And I think this is also pretty cool as well. Well, for bulkier teams, as well as some variations of Stall. Yes, because you can just add 10 million Defoggers on your team and you can't hazard stack versus that. But hazard stacking versus Stall was already hard anyway. You usually had double Defog, Scarm Zapdos on some variants, plus Magic Bounce. But let's talk about it. Okay, let's go through this list. And like I said, the full list will be down below if you guys want to know it. And I'll be going through the ones that stood out to me. So Aerodactyl, Altaria, both have Defog. They had it before, so nothing really new there. But I did want to have them because they started with A. Arceus gets the Defog move to it, and this is a big one because it was always a pain to get competitive Arceus for battling, at least when it came to Wi-Fi battling, to have Defog with it. And now you can just have your Arceus, get your plate on it, EV spread it how you want, and have a Defog move tutor right there in the game. Blaziken gets Defog. So this is really interesting because Blaziken is going to be Ubers. Maybe, I doubt they'll bring it down for any sort of suspect test, and I'm talking about in a sense of Smogon. I doubt they'll bring it down, but Blaziken having Defog is really interesting. Typically Blaziken would run like SD Baton Pass and Uber's sub Baton Pass, but being able to run Defog is pretty cool. Obviously Arceus and Giratina all give it a competition as a Defogger, but I think that's still just a pretty cool option if you are running Blaziken and Ubers. Charizard gets Defog. I mean, it had Defog before. But just wanted to know that it does. Cryogonal gets Defog, and this is a big one because Cryogonal had to run Rapid Spin. This was like a typical set for Cryogonal. Rapid Spin, Freeze Dry, Toxic, and oh, you guys see a whole list here too. And Recover. This was like a typical set. Maybe you'd see Knockoff, Hidden Power, but now it has Defog. You cannot block. You can't block. It's hazard removal. So this is really, really big for the tiers of like NU and PU, not being able to block the fact that Cryogonal can get rid of hazards. So that's really, really big. That doesn't have to run Rapid Spin anymore. Dragonite gets Defog, so Defog plus multi-scale will be legal on Dragonite. That's a big thing as well with getting Defog in these later generations. We'll be able to have cool abilities. Drumpa, for some reason, gets Defog. But then again, it also gets Hurricane, while Zapdos doesn't. So, not quite sure how I feel about that. But again, with reliable recovery and Roost and actually the ability to Defog, I think it could be a cool lower tier one. Napoleon gets it again. Florges. Now I don't know how, but Florges ends up getting Defog. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to be, or how this will affect Florges, since typical sets were Rish, Protect, Moonblast, Heal Bell, slash Aromatherapy. Actually, Aromatherapy. Or Heal Bell. Yeah, but not quite sure how it'll affect Florges as a support mon. It just opens up another door for it, but Florges doesn't really have an extra slot open for that, I feel. Though, I don't know. maybe you'd see more Synthesis Defog, Moonblast, Aromatherapy as opposed to Wish Passing. But I think Florges really did thrive on that Wish Passing as well. But it does have Defog now. Don't know why, but it does have Defog now. Giratina has Defog again for you Uber players. Especially those Ubers players on Wi-Fi. Just makes it a lot easier to have a defogger if you are playing on Wi-Fi. Gligar and Gliscor both get defog. Now they did have it before, but now Gligar can run defog with immunity, which means like a standard set for Gligar was defog, I want to say Stealth Rock, Roost, Earthquake. And if it ran defog, or let's say there was like U-turn on this, maybe you had a different Stealth Rocker. So this was your set. If it ran Defog, it could not have immunity, so you could Toxic wear it down. Now you can have Defog Gligar in the lower tiers with immunity, and this is actually pretty big. This is really big for Gligar down there. Just being able, it's already a pain to wear it down as it is, even with knockoff, like it has good defenses. And then the same case goes for Gliscor. Gliscor can now run Poison Heal Defog. If you wanted to run Defog before, you couldn't have Poison Heal, you could only have 2 of these abilities, but you have Defog, you'll also have Roost in your arsenal, and then on top of that, you'll have the Toxic Orb healing you. So there's just a lot going on for I don't want to open it up just yet, but there's just a lot going on for Gliscor right now. So that's really cool as an option for that, and I expect to see something like that on variations of Stall, where there'd be UU. Ho-Oh gets Defog. Now Ho-Oh getting Defog is pretty cool because it can actually get a Regenerator, so it can be a Regenerator that can Defog. We'll keep going, but you will see that Lugia gets it as well. But again, another option for Ubers. I think Hydreigon getting Defog is pretty cool, especially considering Hydreigon does have Levitate, so it's immune to Toxic Spikes and Spikes, Sticky Web as well, and of course Stealth Rock only does neutral damage to it, so a really good defogger, and has reliable recovery and Roost, and the fact that it's dual stab is pretty much busted, except if you're a Fairy type. So like Dark Pulse, Draco, or you can even run Dark Pulse Flash Cannon, which is pretty decent coverage in its own right. But yeah, Hydreigon as a defog is really cool, especially like on Scarf Hydreigon as well. Just being able to get rid of those last ditch effort hazards. I don't know why the keys get defog. I do not know why the keys get defog, especially when they set it spikes, but it is an option. And I guess it's I don't know. Would you use something like this in Ubers? I know like before they nerfed Prankster and whatnot, Klefki was seen in Ubers for Xerneas and whatnot. Obviously, you know, it's seen in UU and whatnot. So I guess in UU, maybe the Klefki Wars would be a little bit more annoying, defogging and whatnot. It's interesting because a lot of these mods don't look like they should get it. Because when I think of defog, I think of, you know, wings flapping away fog, because that's the way it was when I played 4th gen, right? When you play through 4th gen, that's the way they portrayed it. But why does Klefki, does it just shake its keys? And I don't know. But it does end up getting defog. Landorus gets defog. And not just this Landorus, but Landorus Therian form as well. So the boy with #1 usage in OU, who can do 10 million things, defensive, Scarf, Double Dance, Zimu, now has access to defog. And this is actually pretty cool, obviously, you know, giving you a defog option. Landorus wants all its moves, so it'll be interesting to see how this is actually applied. But it just adds one more thing to Landorus' arsenal. The fact that it's already a flying type, and it takes it doesn't take super effective damage from Stealth Rock due to the fact that it's also part ground. It's pretty big, and it's obviously unaffected by most of the hazards that they are. So that's really big. So that is a huge one, honestly. And I do want to know your thoughts on that one in particular. Landorus Therian form. Of course, obviously, Landorus Incarnate does get it as well, which is cool for Ubers, which it will probably go back to, assuming we let anything down, and then it goes back. Lugia gets multi-scale plus defog. That's pretty big as well. Having multi-scale, having reliable recovery and Roost / recover, and pretty much just being the wall. It's pretty big for Lugia, I feel like, especially on variations of Stall in the Ubers tier. That'll be sick. Lunala also gets it, and Lunala does have Shadow Shield, but I don't know exactly how that works, especially in the case of Necrozma, because obviously from what we know from Ultra Sun and Moon, and this is, you know, no spoilers at all, what we actually know from officially revealed trailers is that Necrozma like takes it fuses with them or whatever, or absorbs or grabs them in light. I don't know. We saw the official trailers, so I'm not sure if that means that Pokemon also gets Defog just by that, like by association, by the fact that it gets it. Just how, like, you know, Kyurem Black got Fusion Bolt because it took Zekrom. It was a fusion of Zekrom and Kyurem. Like, Kyurem couldn't normally get it, but then when it fused, it got Fusion Bolt. So I'm not sure if that also means that can get Defog. But interesting. Reshiram also gets it. I mean, he has wings. Makes sense. So in contrast, I'm also thinking, does this mean that Kyurem White can get Defog as well? Well, that's interesting to think about. Not that Kyurem White has that much usage. This is a big one. Rotom. All forms of Rotom get Defog. So, Rotom Wash, one of the most diverse Pokemon, being able to... Well, I mean, you know what it does, but it's still good at what it does. Though not as much in this generation. But, you know, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, Volt Switch, Hydro Pump. All forms of Rotom do get Defog. So Rotom now has another thing it can add to its arsenal, and again, having Levitate, this is pretty big. So I think the Hazard game war in the continuation of Gen 7 as we're going into Gen 8, you know, whenever that ends up coming out, it's definitely going to change. Like, in this generation, I feel like spikes were the biggest thing, right? Spikes were the biggest thing, especially in the higher tiers. Spikes and toxic spikes were the biggest thing, and they were pretty much, you know, they forced you to run certain defoggers. Kartana rose up in usage because being a steel type, it's not affected by toxic spikes, obviously, so that was a pretty big one. But Rotom gets it now, all forms of Rotom, which means even in lower tiers to get it. So I can see Rotom Cut running it, and this Rotom as well. Serperior, why? They gave Serperior Defog. So now I can see something like a contrary Leaf Storm, Hidden Power Fire, maybe Giga Drain / Synthesis Defog going on, and you know what? Your Ferrothorn is going down, okay? Your Ferrothorn is being 1v1. I'm getting my recovery. I said Giga Drain, what the hell? Maybe you can run Giga Drain as well for recovery, but I'm getting my recovery, and I'm also defogging away your hazards. So, pretty interesting for Serperior. Again, I'm pretty excited for Wi-Fi battle's sake. Silvally gets it. So Silvally now has that, plus Parting Shot in its arsenal, also has a U-turn. So interesting coverage for Silvally. As far as I know, it didn't get extreme speed, but I'll look more into it, if anything. Tapu Koko has Defog, which is pretty cool considering, I'm going to know in the sense of Sticky Web, for example. Let's say it's a Tapu Koko versus Smeargle lead. You don't even have to bother taunting Smeargle and fearing the Magico. Obviously, because of your electric terrain, Smeargle can't put you to sleep. And you can just Thunderbolt it twice. And because Tapu Koko is probably going to be faster than everything you'll see on Sticky Web teams, because they usually abuse the speed, maybe have one Ren or Scarfer or two, Tapu Koko can just defog away those hazards. So just another great thing to add to its arsenal. It has Taunt, Roost already, and a bunch of things. Thundurus Therian form and Thundurus Incarnate both get Defog. Not quite sure how much you'll see of those. You barely see those these days anyway, but maybe you'll see something like that. The big one, though, is Tornadus and Tornadus Therian. Both get Defog. So now we have a Regenerator Pokemon that has great utility, great speed, heals itself naturally, and it can just Defog and U-turn on out of there. It can knock off, it can Hurricane, Heat Wave. So really big for Tornadus, I feel. Tell me your thoughts on that one. That one I want to know. Tornadus Therian in particular. Volcanion gets it. Okay, Steam being cleared maybe absorbs the Steam. I don't know. Volcanion gets Defog. I'm not quite sure what to think about this. It's weak to hazards, takes everything, doesn't have any recovery, but still a cool option. Xatu getting Defog is pretty big because it gets it with Magic Bounce. So now, not only are you going to have to predict when the Xatu comes in with your Stealth Rocker, but this Pokemon has recovery, and this Pokemon can defog your hazards anyway, and it has U-turn as well. This is going to be a pain to deal with in lower tiers. A defog Magic Bounce user is going to be such a pain to deal with in the lower tiers. Excited for it, though. Excited for it. Sorry, I have to keep scrolling down. Xerneas and Yveltal both get it. In Xerneas' case, I don't know. Maybe, for example, on Choice Scarf or Choice Spec Xerneas, which do run around, you know how most people run Moonblast, and then that kind of changed because Sleep Talk isn't ran as much since Dark Void. Dark Ride pretty much doesn't exist anymore. They run Hypnosis or anything, but they ain't gonna hit. Same thing with Lunala. They run Z Hypnosis, but they ain't gonna hit. So most Scarf. When I use Scarf, I always use Moonblast, Aromatherapy, Geomancy, just in case I get knocked off, and then sometimes Rest in case I get knocked off versus Stall. But now I can see myself fitting Defog onto this slot, and maybe not to obviously spam it at all, but it does give Xerneas that extra option. So that's pretty cool, especially because Pokemon like Groudon are they're invited in. This is pretty big for, I guess, offense, particularly like Nuzzle, Smeargle, with Psychic Terrain type teams, or Spikes, Deoxys type teams. I think mindless offense, not only did Marshadow make that pretty much be put on halt, but I think Defog being widely distributed is pretty big as well in that case. Another mon that gets it, obviously a Veltal. Not quite sure how you would use it, maybe on Scarf of Veltal, but I like all my movesets on Scarf of Veltal, meaning I like U-Turn for the switching out. I like Foul Play for the setup sweepers, and of course Oblivion Wing and Dark Pulse. I love both of those. Those are your main stats to abuse. But maybe on a support set, Taunt, Roost, Defog, Knockoff / Foul Play could work instead of Toxic, maybe with Toxic Bites in itself. I don't know. Zapdos gets Defog, which is big because now you can use Defog plus Static. That's pretty much the only thing that Zapdos gets with that. So it can now have its Heat Wave, Thunderbolt, Defog, Roost, and you don't have to run Pressure. Now Pressure is pretty good, obviously, being able to stall out Pokemon, but having that Static, being able to switch in just on Scizor or physical attackers going for U-turn, and having that just chance to paralyze them pretty big. Zekrom also gets it, so I'm pretty sure that means that Kyurem Black will be able to get it, but I'm not 100% on that. I just want to know that Zekrom got that. So those are the Defoggers, and of course, like I said, there is a full list down below. There's a bunch of flying types that get it. I also didn't mention Pokemon like Comfey, I think Cutiefly as well. Let me look at my list real quick. Whoops, where's my list? I believe Cutiefly as well. I can literally just tell you the entire list right now if you want. But yeah, that's pretty big. The fact that all these Pokemon get Defogged, and I'm pretty excited. I'm definitely excited. Oh, obviously, I didn't name a lot of the ones that already got it as well. Like, obviously, the Lottie twins get it, but nothing changed for them. It's just easier. Obviously, Feeny gets it, and yeah, Pokemon like that, Rayquaza, Empoleon, Pick-a-Pack, things like that. Murkrow, Moltres, Mew. Obviously, Mew learns everything, man, the buzz. But let me know your thoughts, guys. I am so excited that we got so much more Defog. Obviously, it does make Stall better, but it also makes, I think, offense or certain variations of offense stronger versus hazards. So, and bulky offense stronger versus hazards. So let me know your thoughts. You can leave them down below. Subscribe for more Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon as it does come out. I will be uploading a ton. Don't worry, I'll be uploading a ton. I already upload a ton, but you'll see even more Ultra Sun and Moon. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, friends.